Today on PlayStation News, all the details you need to know about PS5 Pro. When could we hear more news about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3? PlayStation almost had another name. News about Astrobot sales in the UK and more. Let's get to it. Hello friends, welcome back to PlayStation News. Hoping you are doing great. And there are lots of PlayStation and gaming news to talk about. So let's begin with everything regarding PS5 Pro. So Sony held the PS5 technical presentation yesterday where they announced PS5 Pro to offer higher fidelity graphics with smoother frame rates at 60 FPS. The event was hosted by Mark Cerny, and I like that it wasn't similar to the previous Mark Cerny presentations. Mark Cerny is a brilliant guy, but I didn't like the previous presentations. Like the PS5 technical presentation was kind of boring, the one that was almost like an hour. And also like the PS4 Pro one wasn't that much exciting, but I like the format for this one. I like that they showed more in terms of how the features work with every game, and it felt a lot more Apple-like. They didn't talk about specs at all. As a matter of fact, they didn't publish any of the specs about PS5 Pro on the blog either. So they are focusing on like all of the stuff that PS5 Pro can do. So Mark Cerny highlighted 3 key aspects in PS5 Pro, and I go to the PlayStation blog to read this section here. So an upgraded CPU. With PS5 Pro we are upgrading to a GPU that has 67% more compute units than the current PS5 console and 28% faster memory. Overall, this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making the experience much smoother. There's also advanced ray tracing. We have added even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflection and refraction of light. This allows the rays to be cast at double and at times triple the speeds of the current PS5 console. And last but not least is AI-driven upscaling, or what they call PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR for short, which is their version of NVIDIA DLSS of some sort. We're also introducing PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, and AI-driven upscaling that uses a machine learning-based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. Now moving into PS5 Pro compatibility in regard to games and accessories. So about 40 to 50 games will use the PS5 Pro hardware to its fullest after being patched when the console launches, and that includes Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Demon's Souls, Dragon's Dogma 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Gran Turismo 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon Forbidden West, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, The Crew Motorfest, The First Descendant, and The Last of Us Remastered. Now this is the initial lineup, and more developers and publishers will patch for upcoming games. But at least this is the initial lineup of what will use the PS5 Pro to its fullest. I think they should have added like a new game of some sort. Like most of the games is the stuff that it's been already out, so unless you haven't finished them or you have the interest of going back, like all of the games have already been out. The only one is Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is coming out in October, so I think they should have shown a little bit more of upcoming games. They also mentioned about the PS5 Pro enhanced label. So this was something that leaked last year from Insider Gaming and leaker Tom Henderson. So this is something that developers will have to add new features in terms of like PS5 Pro to earn the label and have the label showcase on the box of their PS5 copy. And they have to at least have an increased resolution for titles that use a fixed resolution on the current PS5, or they need to have an increased maximum resolution for titles that use a variable resolution on the current PS5, increased frame rate, or have advanced ray tracing features on PS5. That way they will have the logo for the PS5 Pro enhanced label. There's also PS5 Pro Game Boost, which in the same way as PS4 Pro, it enables about 8,500 compatible PS4 games to run at better performance and enhanced image quality, and the same for some PS5 titles as well. So regardless of if they get patched or not, some will be boosted by this feature. The compatibility with PS5 accessories is the same as you have right now. It's compatible with all the DualSense, PSVR 2, PlayStation Portal, DualSense Edge, the Access Controller, Pulse Elite, and Explore, the Ultra Blu-ray disc drive that was launched with the PS5 Slim, as this is a digital-only console and there won't be a disc bundle. And there's also the console covers, but I thought that the console covers from the Slim were gonna be compatible with the PS5 Pro, but they mentioned in the blog that when the covers become available, so I think there will be new covers for PS5 Pro as well. And regarding PSVR 2, they didn't mention PSVR 2 at the presentation at all, but they mentioned that on the PlayStation blog, and Mark Cerny also said on an interview with CNET that the PS5 Pro is also gonna improve the performance of PSVR 2 titles, but they didn't mention any of that, so there's not much information on what's the improvements for PSVR 2. Besides all of that, PS5 Pro includes 2TB SSD and has improved wireless connectivity including Wi-Fi 7. So how much is all of that? In the US it's $699 with $99. In the UK it's $699 with 99 pounds. 799 with 99 euros in the rest of Europe, and 119,980 yens in Japan. Compared to the PS5 at launch, the PS5, at least in the US, it was 399 with 99 for the digital version and 500 for the one with the disc drive. So it's 200 to 300 depending on the version, and they later increased the price in certain regions for about $50. So yeah, it's about $200 to $300 in price difference depending on which version you are comparing it. And comparing it to the PS5 Pro, when it came out, the PS5 Pro was $400, with the PS4 Slim being $300, so it was a $100 difference. And at that point, the PS4 Slim had gone down in price by $100, so it didn't feel as outrageous now that it's almost $200 to $300. And you also have to add up that you need to get the disc accessory if you plan to use any disc-based media. So yeah, I don't like the price at all. So the console launches on November 7 and on participating retailers on PlayStation Direct. Pre-orders start on September 26 on PlayStation Direct and all other territories that don't have PlayStation Direct on all retailers. And then on all the other retailers, it will be available for pre-order on October 10th. So overall thoughts, I think, as I said, the event was great. I think it had a great flow. They showed the games and how PS5 Pro improved them in some regards. Some look practically the same, but you need to have like you need to have them running in front of you with a 4K TV and all of that, so that you could notice the difference. And it's not something that you could see on a YouTube video like that, but there were some cases that you could see some differences in terms of like picture quality and all of that. So I like how they showed more and didn't talk as much as in previous presentation. So it was also understandable for an average person. They were not too technical about it. Yeah, the thing is, I don't like the price. It's not gonna make me upgrade the PS5, my PS5. I think at 600 it would have been. I would have talked about it, but they would still have had to sell me on it, because I'm fine with my PS5 right now, and everything else I could play on PC right now. So it's not like I need a PS5 Pro, and I also don't have a 4K TV. I have a 4K TV, but not one that could take advantage of everything on PS5 Pro. So is the PS5 Pro worth it? I think it's an individual question, but I think at least if you have a PS4 or even a PS4 Pro and you haven't upgraded to PS5 and you want the best of the best, and you also have a 4K TV that takes advantage of like all of the features, including VRR and everything, it's probably a good purchase. Now you also have to consider that at $700 you could go with a PC as well, and you could add a little bit more and get a PC. It probably won't run 4K 60 FPS with ray tracing and all of that, but it could run games very well as well. at least at 1080p or even for 1440p, depending on how much you spend. So again, if you have a 4K TV and you haven't upgraded, it's probably an easier sell. And even at that point, you also have to ask why not go with the original PS5 instead, for 300 less. So it's mostly gonna be for enthusiasts if you want the very best, to play the very best on PS5. If you have a PS5, it's a much harder sell. You are probably waiting for PS6, which is maybe, I don't know, 2 to 3 years away for the next generation. But with these prices, it also makes me worry about what's gonna be the baseline for console prices in the next generation. And here's hoping it's not $700. So let me know what you guys think about the PS5 technical presentation and all of the details about PS5 Pro, the features. What do you think about the price? Do you think about upgrading or not? I posted on the community tab a poll regarding if you were interested on PS5 Pro or not. And so far, with 37 votes as of recording, 90% of you are interested in getting it, and 81% of you won't. So it's also a follow-up to another poll that I did, and back then I was asking on the prices on how much would you pay for the PS5 Pro, and most of you also voted for $599. So let me know what are your thoughts about PS5 Pro in the comments below. But let's keep talking about PS5 Pro, because analysts have added their comments on what they think PS5 Pro is gonna do. And we have Matt Piscatella, who posted on Threads, and you can see it here. So he said that on the US, the PS4 Pro data accounted for a total of 13% of the PS4 units and about 15% of the total revenue for PS4. And he expects that PS5 Pro could do similar numbers, if a little bit less, but it will also depend on the numbers that GTA 6 could do. So also the PS4 sales did not change that much when the PS4 Pro came out. So he also expects that the sales for PS5 will not be affected by this new console. Instead, like, the average price for PS4 purchases increased with the release of the PS4 Pro, and he expects it's gonna be the same, and they are gonna make they're gonna drive the enthusiast segment to drive an incremental revenue for Sony. We also have Pierce Harding Roll from Ampere Analysis pointing out, like, the price difference that I just mentioned, that PS5 to PS5 Pro is about 40 to 50% compared to PS4 to PS4 Pro, which was about 33%. So it's a lot more, and he expected all the complaints that there are in social media regarding the price. He said, and I quote, "In the US, the PS4 Pro launched at $399 and the Slim PS4 was $299 at the time, a 33% differential. Additionally, the Slim PS4 had a retail price of $299, having dropped from the original PS4 launch price of $399. We expect the price point to soften demand with some consumers, but for PlayStation enthusiasts, the pricing is less of a consideration." Now you can see in the graphic here the yellow line. They expect the PS5 Pro to do about 1.3 million after the launch window. So in 2024 they expect 1.3 million sales, and compared to the PS4 Pro launch window, which did 1.7, so it's gonna be about 400,000 consoles less from PS5 Pro. And they expect the PS5 Pro will eventually sell around 13 million units compared to the 14.5 million units that the PS4 Pro launched during its lifetime. Now he also reflected on why Sony went with this pricing, and it's basically because they don't have any competition in terms of having another console, another Pro style console. So what Pierce Harding said is that PS5 Pro pricing reflects Sony's adjusted strategy to protect its margin, generally supply chain inflation, and a lack of direct competitor to its mid-cycle upgrade compared to last generation, where Microsoft was preparing to launch Xbox One X. The lack of competition means it is an easier decision for Sony to run with a higher price point to protect its existing margins. For most prospective PS5 consumers, the standard edition will represent the value sweet spot. So yeah, basically, if we had Xbox launching a pro style console, maybe Sony would have decided to go a little bit lower with the price. But what rumors say is that Microsoft is probably going to, or is starting to look into what the next generation is gonna look like for them, and they are working. They also said it on, I think, on their recent E3 presentation, well, Summer Game Fest presentation, that they were working on their next console. So it seems like they will skip having a mid-gen refresh this time, and this is mainly the reason why Sony is opting for these prices. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think the PS5 Pro will do well in sales? Let me know about that in the comments below. Now let's talk about some quick fire stories, including Final Fantasy VII. So the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth co-director and Ever Crisis director Motomo Toriyama had an interview with Famitsu recently about Ever Crisis and the Ever Crisis anniversary, and he explained there when we can expect Part 3 news for Final Fantasy VII, or the Final Fantasy VII project. So he said that by next year in September, during the Ever Crisis 2nd anniversary, we could have heard more news about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. He said that I could, by then we may have started to release information about the last part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, so I hope that players will get excited about that with us. Director Motomo Toriyama had previously talked about what they want to do with Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, including they want to have a moving ending and an impressive ending to the Remake trilogy that will answer all the mysteries that Rebirth has, and that exceeds the ending of the original game. We also had some information regarding the Queen's Blood game from director Naoki Hamaguchi, who said that the next part will also have this minigame this card minigame that was in Rebirth, and it's gonna be some sort of improved version of that minigame. Now we talk about Metal Gear Solid and a future Volume 2. So Konami held a Metal Gear production hotline yesterday, where they explained a little bit on the future games from the series. So they were saying that Volume 1 was easier because they already had an HD version for Sons of Liberty and Snake Eater, so it didn't took much time for them to do the Volume 2. Now, modern Metal Gear Solid games like MGS4 and Metal Gear Solid 5, or even Peace Walker, they are already in HD, so they don't require work to port them over. But they are really big titles, and they also want to avoid the launch issues from Volume 1. They said, and I quote, "We are also worried about how Volume 1 had a pretty rough launch with all the issues, so we are going to do everything we can not to repeat that, but we just have to ask everyone to give us more time. It's going to be a little while until we can get a clear picture, but when we do, we'll let you know." So yeah, it seems that they acknowledge that they will do a Volume 2, but they still have to decide which games they will add into this collection. I hope that's Metal Gear Solid 4, which has been locked on the PS3 for 2 generations now. And yeah, maybe we get some improvements regarding MGS5, and it would be really cool if they would bring back Peace Walker with the online options as well. Now, fans found Easter eggs regarding this Volume 2 collection when they announced the Volume 1, and like in the source code for the website, you could find placeholders for Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, and also MGS5. So it seems like they are working on it, and they will let us know when they are ready. Next, we have a trio of Ubisoft stories, and similar to their logo, Ubisoft is going on a downward spiral in terms of like its stock price. It has reached a 10-year record low at the beginning of September, and that was due to the release of Star Wars Outlaws not doing as much as they hoped, and also the lack of interest in X-Defiant, their first-person shooter. So the highest the stock has been this year was 24.47 euros in February, and from that it went to 17.50 euros in August, and now it's at a low of 13.25 euros and still going down. So that's a decline of 50% over the past 12 months. Now they are in serious trouble because investors are calling for significant changes in the company, and that includes taking the company private, a comprehensive reduction program in terms of costs, staff level optimization, which sadly means some layoffs at the publisher. They an increased focus on their core IPs, and also the replacement of current CEO Yves Guillemot. So they are having serious issues, and we'll see if they can turn it around as they did when they were facing a hostile takeover from Vivendi. We'll see what happens with Ubisoft next. Sticking with more Ubisoft news, they have released patch 1.1.2 for Star Wars Outlaws, fixing all the issues with stealth that we were mentioning in the previous episode. The director Julian Geraghty mentioned in an interview on Games Radar that they felt that the stealth at some of the missions was like unfair. So they are finally fixing that. They said they would be fixing it in 10 days. So it didn't last like, I don't know, less than 4 days. So it also has stability improvements and bug fixes for UI, audio, some main and side missions, and there's also a fix for a trophy called Old School Cool, which didn't allow people to earn the platinum. They have also enabled cross progression saving between all the platforms with Ubisoft Connect. So they are still releasing patches on this game since it came out, and we'll see what happens next with Star Wars Outlaws. Now, Star Wars may be getting Ubisoft connected, but the crew Motorfest is getting disconnected, and don't worry, they won't be taking the games offline. So basically, the publisher gave an update on the stuff that they are adding for year 2, and it's gonna have a new island to explore, and new events, vehicles. There's also a paid PvE mode called the Chase Squad. And besides that, they also announced that both the Crew 2 and Motorfest will be getting an offline mode on all platforms. So it allows players to continue playing even when they take the servers offline. And it's not gonna be the case as the Crew 1 that they took offline last year. And they even ended up removing the license from players and removing the game from their libraries. So yeah, it's great to see Ubisoft learning from its mistakes, and they will enable people to play this game offline when the servers are out. Now we have some updates on Microsoft games, including Minecraft. So Mojang announced a change in the output that they are releasing new content for the game, and they also mentioned about the PS5 version. So they will be changing their release schedule from one content drop in the summer to several content drops throughout the year, similar to what Bungie announced yesterday with the future of Destiny. And this is to satisfy players' desire for frequent new content each year. Now, regarding the PS5 version, they said that they are continuing to work on it, and they released a test build for players last June, but they still don't have a release date for this version. Moving into another Microsoft game, or Activision if you want. So Activision announced that they won't be offering campaign early access for this year's Black Ops 6, as it has been the case for previous years. For example, with Modern Warfare 3 last year, they usually give you like a week of early access if you pre-order, and the multiplayer would open for everyone on the same day. So they sent a statement to Charlie Intel which reads, "The team is fully focused on October 25. We're excited about all the game has to offer across campaign, multiplayer and zombies. This year we made the decision to ensure the community gets to dig into any and all modes that they want at the same time. So we are back to one massive global launch moment on October 25th. As such, there's no early access bid this year for Black Ops 6, just the countdown to launch." I'm not sure if this has anything to do with it, the fact that the game is also on Xbox Game Pass on day one. So if they enable early access for that, they would have to give it on Game Pass as well, and also on PlayStation. I don't know if it has to do anything, or maybe it has or maybe not. So you would have to wait until October 25 if you want to play either the campaign or the multiplayer for Black Ops 6. In more Call of Duty news, Activision also announced that Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone Season 6 will start on September 28, and as it's been the case in previous years, it includes the same Halloween event, The Haunting, and this year it includes operators like Michael Myers, Art the Clown, Sam Porter Bridges, Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead, and bundles from Trick and Treat and Smile 2. Besides that, all the stuff that you could expect from a new season, like new maps, map variants, new weapons, and so on. So yeah, September 18th for Season 6 in Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone. Moving away from quick-fire stories into a very interesting one, and it's the fact that the original PlayStation was almost called the PowerStation. So this was way before the original PlayStation came out, when it was still this CD add-on for the SNES that later Nintendo would end up dropping, and Sony would go their own way and release the PlayStation. And this was information that was revealed by former Sony Computer Entertainment boss Chris Deering in a recent episode of the My Perfect Console podcast. So he explained that they went with PowerStation, but it seems that there were some issues registering that trademark in some regions. So then Ken Kutaragi, father of PlayStation, decided that he would want to change the name to PlayStation, and he would have to fight some marketing some marketing guys were not happy with the name. Chris Deering said that he liked the new name. So yeah, basically there's another timeline where the PlayStation 1 is called the PowerStation, and we would be on the PowerStation 5 and PowerStation 5 Pro. Yeah, I like they didn't go with that name. It sounds like something like a rechargeable station of some sort. Yeah, it didn't sound well at all. So I'm happy they didn't go with the original name. So that would have been a great participation from Chris Deering in the My Perfect Console podcast, with this tidbit that the original PlayStation would have been called the PowerStation. But then he proceeded to put his foot in his mouth, and he made some comments that have not landed well with people online. So he basically downplayed all the layoffs that has been happening in the industry. He said that he doesn't think that they are happening because of corporate greed, and back when he was a boss at Sony, he would try to minimize the speed at what they would get new staff, because there would always be this cycle where there would be new layoffs and all of that. So he said that this process of layoffs is also hard for managers, but he tried to downplay like the effect that this has on the people that get laid off, and basically said that this is similar to when the pandemic, when you would have to find ways to go through this hardship, and he recommended people to either drive an Uber, go live to somewhere cheap, or go to the beach. And yeah, some very awful comments to make, like basically go on a vacation if you have lost your job. Yeah, awful, really awful comments to make. So let me know what you guys think about the comments from Chris Deering, the fact that the original PlayStation was almost called PowerStation, and all of the stuff that he said regarding the layoffs in the gaming industry. Now, there's still not much news about Astrobot sales, but we have some information from at least the UK, and this is from Christopher Dring from Game Industry. So he posted on Twitter saying that the Astrobot sales were not huge at launch, and it's about a third of what Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart did in 2021, but this only includes physical copies. It doesn't count digital copies, but he doesn't think it's gonna improve that much in regard to overall sales, but he expects the game to improve over time, given it's like this family-friendly title, and it could have a different life cycle to other games that usually sell a lot during the first weeks, and then they end up selling less and less as the months come by. So even if Astrobot didn't sell many copies at launch, it did more than Concord worldwide in just 2 days of sales in the UK. So we'll see if they improve or not. We'll have to wait until the other regions, the report from the other regions, to see what the sales results are and where it lands in the ranking for best-selling games during September. Now we have some additional information regarding Astrobot, and it comes from Team Asobi director Nicolas Doucet in a recent interview with PlayStation, where he said that he expected to have less VIP bots than the amount that they ended up getting. So he said, and I quote, "Since this title packs in much of PlayStation history, we work closely with all of the PlayStation studios. When we share our concept with the studio directors and game creators, the response were overwhelmingly positive. Initially, I thought we could only feature around 50 characters out of the 150 characters we wanted to feature, but to our greatest surprise, the studios agreed to the cameo of all 150 characters. Apart from our PlayStation studios, we were also lucky to collaborate with third-party publishers." So yeah, it seems that all of the studios, even like from first party or third party, agreed to have their games represented in Astrobot, with the exception of Square Enix, which everyone is wondering why there are no Square Enix games represented in Astrobot. But Team Asobi is also working on DLC with VIP bots, challenges, and speedruns, and we'll see if they add more VIP bots either from Square Enix games or from other games. As we were talking in the previous episode, there were some hints from the credits and also the game's concept art of some VIP bots that didn't appear in the game, and maybe they add them in the game as DLC. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Astrobot. Let me know what you guys think about the sales so far, and what do you think about the VIP bots and the fact that Team Asobi was able to get as many as they wanted, and that they didn't have much to fight from other studios. Well, with the exception of Square Enix, like who knows what happened with them. And there you go, that's all the news that I have for today. Let me know what you guys think about everything that we mentioned here, including PS5 Pro. What do you think about the price, features? Are you looking forward to getting one? What do you think about getting news for Final Fantasy VII Part 3 by this time next year? And Konami trying to do Volume 2 for Metal Gear Solid. Also, what do you think about the PlayStation skipping the name PowerStation, and Team Asobi getting as many bots as they wanted, and the sales so far for the game? Remember that you can find all of the sources for these stories in the description below. And also, if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up as it helps a ton, and also subscribing for more PlayStation videos like this. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.